why certain theories have been framed. The theories have been framed in the international framework. These basically determine and hint at the driving forces, the politico-economic thinking, planning, how to govern the states, how to establish relations with other states, so that these are in the benefit of certain leaders and the certain states and advance their politico-economic interests and benefits in the world. Therefore, we say the international relations theories basically help us to understand the way the international politico-economic system work. These also highlight the basic ingredients and the driving forces behind constructing the politico-economic policies and engagements of the nations world around. There are three key theories in this respect. These are realism, liberalism, and constructivism. First of all, we take the realism. This theory basically revolves around the national interest. The states are more concerned about their national interest, and they believe whatever the means which are really going to take their national interest forward, they consider those mechanics, those forces, or the political dynamism genuine, justified, and legitimate. And even if the political immoralities are concerned, they are not bothered about that. Therefore, morality stands subservient to the national interest in this context. Almost, this appears to be very much near to the Machiavellian school of thought, because the Machiavelli believes that for the sake of national interest, for the sake of the state, or in the interest of the king and the monarch or the chief executive, you can do whatever you like. Therefore, we will now dilate upon this subject by giving examples from the present political environment going on. You see, there are proxy wars going on in the world right now, and the most important is a proxy war going on between Saudi Arabia and Iran in Syria. In this context, they are least bothered about the killing of the people, loss of the property over there, just to advance their national interest. In the same manner, you see, even Russian involvement or the United States involvement over there, that is also to advance their national interest. You have seen China. There is a violation of intellectual property rights over there, and China has been considered expanding its territorial jurisdiction by building certain or the developing certain coral reefs and having control of the uninhabited islands in the South China Sea. That has created a kind of confrontation between China and Japan. You know, on the Senkaku Island, there is a conflict going on between China and Vietnam, China and Philippines, even Taiwan. These are the things basically, the major driving force or the thing which triggers for such moves or the political moves is the national cause and the national interest. Then we see in the recent past, in 2014, you know, there has been an upheaval in Ukraine. In Ukraine, there was a pro-Russian government over there. That was a democratic government. But a kind of political disturbance was created by the Western nations just to topple or just to get away with the pro-Russian government over there. There were protests in the capital for a long time, and subsequently, with the help of a military coup, the pro-Russian government was replaced by the pro-Western government. And at the same time, the Russia also used force to serve its national interests, and it occupied the Crimean Peninsula. Subsequently, though, it managed to hold a referendum over there because the majority of the Crimean Peninsula were Russian-speaking people. Therefore, Crimea was annexed by Russia in 2014. In the same country, I mean the Ukraine, in the eastern Ukraine, which was again dominated by the pro-Russian or the Russian-speaking people, a movement for autonomy was started over there. This way, the Western nations try to serve their cause by making use of the force, and the same thing was used by the Russian just to serve their national interest. Again, we have seen in case of Saddam and Gaddafi, these two regimes were toppled by making use of the force by the United States and its allies. Since this was in their national interest, therefore they didn't bother even the United Nations Security Council. They didn't take both of these issues, toppling of Saddam and Gaddafi, to the United Nations Security Council, or try to seeking any support or legitimate power which is enshrined to the Security Council to topple these two regimes. Just a crude use of force was exercised. And then we have seen before that in 1979, Soviet Union entered its forces into Afghanistan. And that was again use of force to serve the national interest of Soviet Union. And again, Soviet Union forces were repulsed by making use of the force in the form of Mujahideen resistance. In the realism, or under this theory, the countries are more concerned about the national interest and they are not concerned about the means to realize this objective. Therefore, the most important thing in this is security and material power. They have to acquire the security of their state and increase their material power. This thing was quite phenomenal during the colonial era. The imperialist powers of the West, to serve their respective national interests, they just spread all around the globe and they started capturing and controlling the weaker nations of the world and then utilizing their resources to advance their national interests. Next.